The Frontier Culture Museum in Staunton, Virginia, is a walk-through living history experience. It brings to life the experiences of America's earliest settlers through its authentic dwellings and buildings, everyday tools and items, and expert narrative from interpreters. The tour takes us through homes similar to traditional houses like those of the thousands of people who migrated to colonial America from Europe's Old World countries and from Africa. It provides a glimpse at what life was like for local American Indian tribes, as well as the gradually improved lives of the country's earliest settlers and their descendants. The first stop is the West African farm. This family compound is a recreation of a traditional farm of the Igbo from the west coast of Africa. Not all immigrants came to America by choice. Nearly 250,000 Africans were torn away from homes like these and brought to the colonies and elsewhere to work in slavery. An Igbo compound consisted of several single-room buildings and an outdoor kitchen. The huts were built of readily available materials such as clay, bamboo, and wood. The roof was made of raffia palm thatch. The low overhanging roof protected the buildings during the rainy season. Goats were kept within the walls of the Igbo farmers' compound enclosure. Goats were an essential food source while yams were their primary food crop. Along the tour you will see many other animals such as pigs, ducks, cows, chickens, and geese. Such animals were essential to the survival of the settlers of America. The tour next takes you to the English farm. The English began colonization in the New World in 1607, when this house was likely built. Like many of the buildings at the Frontier Culture Museum, this home was dismantled in Europe, in this case England, and rebuilt piece by piece by historic preservation experts. The original owners of this home in England were fairly well-to-do, with a multi-room house and comfortable furnishings that included 2 leisure rooms, a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. The many windows of this home were a tremendous luxury after England introduced a glass tax. Many English came to the colonies as indentured servants, while some were lesser gentry who were granted land in Virginia for farming. They brought with them important aspects of their culture and fused their beliefs, attitudes, and cultural identities into their new way of life in America. The furnishings and handicrafts seen here reflect this cultural identity. Blacksmithing is a skilled labor requiring a building known as a forge for heating and shaping iron. This building is an Irish forge, originally located in County Ulster in what is now Northern Ireland. This is where the blacksmith and 1 or more apprentices would create essential tools and items for daily living. This is a typical Irish tenant farmer's house from the 1700s. The home consists of 2 rooms, which were used for most daily activities and sleeping. Making use of available materials, most Irish cottages were built of stone with thatched roofs of reeds. They often were also weavers, in this case using the second room to keep their loom. The German peasant farmhouse did not increase into a multi-room home until the late 1700s. The typical home grew to include a general room, a kitchen, a hall, a bedroom, and an attic room. Because wood was hard to come by, the Germans designed a creative solution for heating their homes with a single fireplace structure. The fireplace structure of the German home served as a cook place on one side and extended into the main room on the opposite side for heating the home. This served well as wood availability was rare because it was owned by the crown unless it was lying on the ground. The raised cooking hearth also allowed for smaller fires and ease of cooking. One of the newest exhibits of the tour is the Indian Village. Here, visitors will learn about one of the Shenandoah tribe's way of life. This tribe lived in a permanent village with houses built of wood. The tree limbs would be lashed together with deerskin rawhide and sided with tree bark. A small fire in the center would serve to heat the structure. The tour next moves to the American frontier in the 1740s house. As the settlers began migrating towards the south and west, they had to clear land of forest and quickly build serviceable dwellings with basic survival a paramount concern. The 1-room log cabin is an authentic structure of the period. The 1820s house, which comes next on the tour, shows visitors yet another authentic period home. This home is typical of the American farmer of the East who has achieved a much more comfortable life than his ancestors. The farmer's home is furnished with items which are as decorative as they are serviceable. While life was still hard, there was a greater measure of comfort. By the 1850s, many communities had achieved an American identity, and their residents connected with this new identity as much or more so than the country of their birth or of their forefathers. This house, moved from a nearby town, reflects the steadily increasing wealth of its owners. It started as a small structure, but had 2 additions added by succeeding generations. Easing of daily burdens finally allowed frontier settlers of the 1850s and later the leisure time to enjoy life and community activities and to develop fine arts and crafts, literature, and inventions. This home reflects this change with areas set aside purely for enjoyment, such as the parlor and the game table shown here. America's biggest hope for the future has always rested in its children. The 1850s schoolhouse reflects a dream of a brighter future held by the frontier settlers for their children and their children's children. This simple one-room structure might not look glamorous, yet it served well to bring together the community's kids for the purpose of learning. Typical of the early American schoolhouse, students of multiple ages were seated on simple benches surrounding a central stove. Students used individual chalkboards to practice writing, as paper was rare and expensive. Usually, a single teacher taught all grades at once. The Frontier Culture Museum is located near the intersection of I-81 and I-64 in the Shenandoah Valley in Staunton, Virginia. To learn more about it, visit frontiermuseum.org. The museum welcomes families, field trip groups, bus tour groups, and individual visitors 7 days a week, 362 days a year.